All wings report in.
HouseDog, standing by.
Mother Goose, standing by.
Lock S-foils in attack position. Animal Squadron ready for battle.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Animal Squadron podcast. I'm your host, HouseDog, and with me, as always, my co-host, my Chewbacca to my Han, because I'm the cool one, and he's cool too, but he's also kind of furry, Mother Goose.
Hi. You're right
wait
about
a minute.
me being furry.
Wait a minute, Mother Goose, is that a Minoc hanging onto the Falcon?
I think it just might be.
No, that's not a Minoc, that's our good friend Tuck. Back with us again for another episode. He has somehow weaseled his way into our podcast.
Okay, in defense of Tuck, I think weaseled is definitely the wrong word. It's more of he came on, we thought it was awesome, and begged him to stay.
I could be call sign Weasel. That'd be kind of dope.
We could be call sign Weasel.
If they could see the text messages from after the first recording session with him, he definitely weaseled himself into this podcast.
Mac just doesn't want to admit that he likes Tuck a lot and was happy to have him back.
I do love Tuck. I'm so happy that now I have a thing where I get to talk to two of my best buddies like on a pretty regular basis for, like a pretty good long phone call, every couple of weeks. But, I created a group chat between us, and then immediately Tuck's first response was, "All right, what's our next episode, fellas?"
That is exactly how I talk too.
Exactly.
But also, to be fair too, as far as we've been friends since we were 2, so I mean, I'm gonna be on here.
Yeah, of course.
Well, maybe Minoc is the perfect way to explain Tuck then.
Oh yeah. I'm a stage 5 clinger for sure.
Well,
see, that's why we keep him around, is because he just, at least he gets it.
Yeah, no, I mean, for you, I insult myself, so it's all good.
He doesn't know where Admiral Akbar's from, but at least he gets some of the jokes.
Yeah, so what's your guys'
I took that
thoughts?
personally.
Does Admiral Akbar have a tentacle penis?
Elijah, this cannot be part of the podcast.
I think it's probably so he's a fish face, and just the smaller fish is his dick.
This cannot be part of the podcast. This is like a Patreon exclusive. We don't even have a Patreon.
Yeah, probably. Actually, you know what? Admiral Akbar, I mean, he's deep dicking for sure. So it's probably like a 14-inch long trout is his penis. Is what I think.
This is a Patreon exclusive, and we don't have a Patreon.
I agree with Tuck. You know what? We've asked for fan fiction before. I think this is a fan fiction we need as well.
You know what? Good luck editing, because you're the one that has to edit this episode.
Oh, I'm leaving it in. It's staying
really?
in.
You want my mother to hear about Admiral Akbar's fish dick. You know what? That's fine, Elijah. That's fine. Hurt my mother's ears with your words, because they're your words, not mine.
Listen,
actually, speaking of fan fictions too, I have a friend. Well, actually, it's Nicole's one of her childhood friends. She wrote some fan fiction about General Grievous whenever she was a little girl. Next time she's here, we should have her on the podcast.
Yes.
No,
I definitely want
just
her
have
on the
her
podcast.
send you the excerpt of her General Grievous fanfic, and we'll read it out on the podcast. I'll narrate it,
and it's quite sexual.
No, let's have her on, and she can do
General
director's
Grievous
commentary.
doesn't have sexual genitalia.
Says who?
But also, she was a 13-year-old girl, man. I mean, it just happened.
What do you mean, says who, Elijah? He's in the whole movie of episode 3, and you never see him have genitalia.
Listen,
He literally only wears a cape.
Robot
That's the only form of clothing.
extendable penis. It just, flattens out when he doesn't need to use it.
He might. And also, maybe he's a tucker. Maybe he just
Yeah.
In addition to my collection.
And he's one of them lady boys,
That's what he was doing with the lightsabers.
Yeah, no, I'll just put an explicit tag, and you text your mom and say, "Hey, don't listen to any of the podcasts with the explicit tag."
No, you can text my mother and tell her to not listen to our podcast anymore. Because you guys are sick and want to give General Grievous a penis.
Listen,
He did definitely. Well, I can't say definitely, but he probably had some sort of sexual reproduction organ for a male.
yeah, I mean,
'Cause
he
he
was.
was-
At one point before he blew up.
And maybe he kept it. Maybe he was proud of that thing. Maybe it was
Yeah.
bigger than his friends, and he was
What do you
proud of
mean
it.
he kept it? Like it was in a glass jar in his little sanctuary on that one planet?
When they turned him into a cyborg, he requested they leave it.
And also, like, you remember in Clone Wars, like, his inner sanctum, and, like, he has statues of himself? He's definitely that vain. He would keep his own dick in a jar if he was proud of it. He would.
He is a very vain
You can't tell me
person.
he wouldn't. He is that vain.
I'm so sorry.
I don't think he was that vain. I just think I liken General Grievous to that of like the Predator. Like he takes trophies.
The Predator probably had a penis too.
What?
The Predator probably had a penis too. Just saying. Or
Yeah,
some
and he-
sort of reproduction organ.
Once again, probably a big one, too. I mean, what
I
a
hate you
badass.
guys so much.
I really
This
wish
is the worst.
I really wish our listeners could see Mac's face right now. He looks so dead inside. I've never seen this.
I am. You
look
guys
out
have
of your
ruined this
face.
episode for me. You guys have ruined this episode for me. The whole point of having Tuck on was so that I could have somebody that would understand both of us, and he has just gone so far left that I can't even control the problem anymore. Tucker doesn't even have a setup. He doesn't even have a setup. Tucker's literally doing this off of his stupid Android.
Tucker
He can't even
agrees
get a
with
mic.
you
Yeah,
about
you
the
have me
robot
on.
sentience. He agrees with me about General Akbar's penis. I think it's equal.
And
It's
also,
admirable to you, sir.
so I'm a swinging pendulum. So, like, right now I'm with Elijah, but, like, you already know I'm going to swing.
Yeah, he'll
Then
be
I'll
back
swing
on
back.
your side eventually.
Yeah, I'll get there.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I would actually like to talk about Rogue One
There
at
we
this
go.
point.
And that was the whole point of this conversation. That was the whole point. Let's go. So I will admit, we'll get there when we get there, but this watch through, I actually teared up a little bit. Some of the character deaths, I was surprised.
I think you'll be surprised to hear that I think I finally may have understood this movie's purpose.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm very excited. Do you want to talk about this now, or is there a certain moment later you want to talk about it?
No, I still hate Rogue One, but I do finally kind of get it. Like, it does add to the gravity of... And actually, you know what? I'm not even going to give credit to Rogue One. I'm going to give credit to Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Okay, sure.
Because, no, there were a lot of moments in Rogue One, and I'll try to remember them as we talk about them, but, like... Obi-Wan helped me so much just love the series more.
Yeah.
And, like, just so much moments in that where I was like, it made the original trilogy, especially episode 4, just like so much more meaningful for me. I don't know if you guys had the same experience after your Kenobi watch throughs, and I really want to watch it through again. And it's another tangent, but somebody has already made a full edit of Kenobi as a movie,
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
and I think it would play great as a movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it deserves, honestly. It should be a movie.
Nope. I think Star Wars has found a niche, and Elijah and I have talked about it on the show before. Like, I think Star Wars is meant for TV right now. I think we've seen what they've
Yeah.
done with movies so far, and it's garbage. I really
Not
think
the
them
best.
going back to TV shows is really capturing what George said Star Wars was, or one of the things that it is, or one of the things that was inspired by, is Flash Gordon, the series.
Yeah.
And, it was that weekly series that you got on TV of how do they get out of this, pickle they found themselves in, or how does our character come back from this devastating news that they just received? And I think Star Wars is thriving under what Star Wars is right now.
I
wouldn't
completely
want a
agree.
movie for anything. I'm 100% okay with series.
What I'm simply saying with the Kenobi thing is like it's good enough to be a movie.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But like I do agree somewhat that like right now, like that's what everyone else is doing. So let's take like Marvel fans, DC fans. Let's take like, all the other fandoms. That's what everyone else is doing. And I think that we like for Star Wars fans, I think in order to stay relevant, we need these big TV shows. Because like movie thing, we can come out with movies all we want, but like with the TV shows, we stay relevant. And we stay relevant like every like I don't know, 6 months whenever a new one comes out. Or a new season of whatever comes out. And I think it's important.
I don't think it's a matter of relevancy. I think Star Wars will always be relevant.
I do too.
But as far as being like the top dog in whatever it is, I mean, anytime anything comes out that's Star Wars related, I mean, you can even take Visions. Visions was kind of a quieter release, but I mean, you had fans like me, Star Wars fans like me, who aren't big anime fans, but like there have been times where I've sat down and watched all of Star Wars Visions at once, multiple times.
Yeah.
And there are certain episodes that I like more than others. The one that's the mirror of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan fighting the old man. I forget what it's called. The Elder.
Yeah.
I love that episode. The episode that mirrors Anakin's story very heavily. Do you remember that one, Elijah?
It's the very last one. I can look it up real quick.
It doesn't matter. People will know what I'm talking about. But like that series was really cool for me. The one where the girl's father is a lightsaber maker, and it's during the time of the Empire, and they get all of these Jedi to a planet, but it turns out they're all Sith besides one of them. And the daughter of the lightsaber maker, that one's really good too.
Yes, I think that one's my favorite, and it was the one I was least excited for. And I think we've talked about this because I was like, Jedi are supposed to make their own lightsabers. That's not how it works. And so I went in really negatively with that episode, and I genuinely loved it so much.
Yeah, that one was cool. And I think it really worked for what they were trying to accomplish as far as like the galaxy's in a terrible place. Why wouldn't there be a lightsaber maker out there that's trying to gather these people?
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
And the first episode is one of my favorites too.
Yeah. Tino, what did you think about Visions?
Visions? Honestly, I had very low hopes for it. When they announced it at first, I was not super happy about it. I was like, okay, like not that I hate anime or anything, but like I just thought that like Japanese studios that make anime shouldn't be making Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
Because like do they really get what it's supposed to be like? I mean, I'm very protective of Star Wars and who makes
Which is hilarious considering how much of Star Wars is inspired by Japanese culture.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you on that, but at the same time too, it was still made by Americans for Americans is what the idea, I mean, like, not the idea of Star Wars.
It was made by an American that was obsessed with Japanese culture.
Yeah, I get that, but it was also made for an American audience. I mean, so if you've ever watched anime, like, a lot of those, like, you can actually see, like, any show that you watch that was originally made in Japan and, like, is dubbed or subbed or whatever you want to watch, usually like the culture's not the same. Their sense of humor is different, for instance. And like you can see the same thing with like American humor and like British humor. Like they're just different things. Like the way that they say things is different. No, I was just talking about how like cultures are different.
Yeah.
So that's why like although like there's a lot of things in Star Wars that are based on Japanese culture, like for instance like Darth Vader's suit is so based on like samurai armor.
Mm-hmm.
Man, anyone can see that. Like it was written by American writers, and so like the humor, the dialogue, like all that stuff fits in very well with American culture.
Yeah.
And so
I don't know, but if you think about it, like, sorry to interrupt you, but Elijah, you might be able to like get me a little bit on this. Like, some of like the anime like clips and stuff I've seen, like they seem very dry and stuff, and the dialogue seems very dry, and that's the problem that people have with Star Wars a lot.
That's a good point, and I don't know, it's very hit or miss because sometimes it can be very dry, and other times it's like way over the top, very dramatic, screaming at each other for 5 minutes or 5 episodes while they're powering up.
And that's what I was wondering about coming to Star Wars, for the record, was the second type you just talked about.
Yeah, no, I think that's a valid critique. I think anytime somebody new takes the reins from Star Wars, it's always a little scary.
Yeah.
You know, when Kathleen Kennedy took the reins, we weren't really sure what Star Wars was going to look like in the future. And under her, we've gotten some of the worst Star Wars projects, but also some of the best Star Wars projects.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and with Visions, like, I mean, so that was just like my initial thought. And then whenever I watched it, I was pleasantly surprised by several things. Like, for instance, again, the lightsaber maker episode and like some things like that. But also, I was a little disappointed in some other episodes, like the musicians one.
Yeah. Tatooine
I kind of
Rhapsody.
like that one.
I thought that one was a little weird. Like, I didn't really like it.
Yeah, I think it was a very different take of the Star Wars universe because, you know, usually it's about fighting and battles and saving the universe, and this one was just about some kids wanting to be in a band.
Yeah.
I thought,
Yeah.
I could see how you wouldn't like it. I liked it. I thought it was a very nice touch to like see the Star Wars universe, not necessarily at combat. Like, that wasn't the point of it. But I definitely could see why you wouldn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Cal Kestis if he joined a band.
That's
Yeah.
true.
But also, too, I mean, again, like, I'm very much a military history guy. Like, that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah,
And that didn't do it for me. I just wasn't a big fan.
that's understandable.
Well, as
Totally
long as
okay.
we're talking about Visions for a second, Tuck, what were your Visions episodes?
So again, like the lightsaber maker. Also, I actually enjoyed the twins. I thought that was kind of a
Really?
cool episode. Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's because like
That's
Zero
interesting
Balance-
because I liked the twins episode too, and Elijah didn't. And he thought that I wouldn't like it either, and I thought he would like the twins.
Yeah,
Well, I thought it was so personal. That's why I liked it. Is because
No,
like
you're
their
right.
fight was, in all honesty, like even if you look at like their fight was personal,
Mhm.
and that's why I kind of liked it. And like to go further, like again, like military history, and like I've just always really thought that like human beings when they fight each other in like an emotional way, like when there's emotional stakes in a fight or a battle or whatever, it makes it more interesting to me. Like, for instance, like one thing is like, so Civil War, and sorry to backtrack real quick,
No,
but
it's
like,
okay.
so like Grant, Sherman, Lee, and Stonewall Jackson, for instance, all fought in the Mexican War together. They were all on the same side. And so, like, for instance, like when Grant and Lee fought each other, that's just such an emotional part of a war. And that's just so interesting to me. Like how people can go from friends 1 second to using their friendship to beat each other in
Yeah.
combat.
That's
just-
really interesting. I didn't know
I
that.
find that very fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
The twins, I think, is my least favorite out of all the Vision episodes, and I only bring that up to say is like, I still think it's cool that we all we're not all on the same page. Like, we have different opinions, and we can still
You know
respect
the
that.
worst Visions episode. You know the worst one.
Which one is your least favorite? I know we talked about it, but I can't remember.
That dang Toby episode.
Toby.
The stupid Toby. And you love Toby, and I thought it was
I love
stupid.
Toby.
I mean that one was one of them. But then also like my least favorite was actually the very like samurai episode when like they're drawing lightsabers out of sheaths and stuff.
Oh, the first episode.
That was the first one. That one was dope.
The story was good, but just I couldn't get past the lightsabers and sheaths. I just thought that was so dumb.
Okay, but let me ask you this. How did you feel about the fact that the sheath, if I remember correctly, was actually another lightsaber?
They don't say that in there.
Oh, I might be wrong.
Okay.
I thought he, like, got his lightsaber knocked away, and then he pulls the sheath out, and oh, surprise, it's another lightsaber. I definitely could be wrong,
it's just a
though.
sheath. It's just a
okay.
sheath.
Well,
Yeah.
screw me then, I
But
guess.
That one seemed a little silly to me.
Yeah, and
No,
that's-
that one was so cool. That one, I love that one.
And that's
Yeah,
my
but
whole
also,
point.
like,
Is,
the combat was a lot of like not as much like stylistic as Star Wars should be, and it was a lot more of like just very like I don't know. I'm trying to like I thought the lightsaber in the sheath was dumb, and then like B, like the way that they moved just wasn't very Star Wars to me, and it was more like Samurai Jack.
yeah. No, I get
know what
that.
I mean?
Ah.
It was a lot of
Ooh.
like it was like slash move fast gone.
Okay.
Slash move fast gone.
Talking
Like that-
about.
Wait, so you're
Samurai
talking about like
Jack.
whenever Phantom Menace happened and they slashed and then they ran fast down a hallway?
The force
Well,
speed.
I mean, yeah, if you want to talk about one moment, but like it's just I'm trying to think of a way to put this into words. Like it was just very much not like what usually happens in like a lightsaber battle.
Yeah, no, and that's really like we all have our favorite episodes, we all have our least favorite episodes, and like that's what's great about Star Wars is there's a little something for everybody.
Overly dramatic is actually what I'm getting at. Is
Yeah.
that like that first episode? I think it was just a little bit overly dramatic.
I get
But
what
that's
you're
The
saying.
duel, that first episode of The Duel is definitely what made me go, okay, I can watch the rest of the series no matter how it turns out.
Oh man, yeah.
And then once I saw Toby, it made me want to stop. But I was like,
love
nope,
Toby
Toby
Jedi
is so
droid.
stupid.
Jedi droid, they're sentient.
No, it's only because he was programmed to be. Droids aren't sentient.
Yes, he was programmed to be a Jedi. No, I just feel bad, Tuck. 2 of your least favorite episodes are the first two. I'm glad you kept going.
Of they're the first. Oh yeah,
Yeah, the duel and Tatooine Rhapsody are the first two episodes.
yeah. I watched it because like with Star Wars, I will finish any Star Wars project. That's how much I love it. Like
Good for you.
I don't.
No. Wait. Has anybody watched Star Wars Resistance?
No, I have not.
Huck?
It's
No.
okay, Gino.
I am eating crow right now. I'm eating crow. I take back what I said.
Wait, but did you start it?
No. I
Okay,
have not seen
you,
the
then you
episode.
weren't lying. You said if you start a project, you
I
gotta
haven't
finish
watched
it.
it either. That's like the one thing that I haven't watched.
I've heard
Yeah,
it's
like honestly,
really
like,
bad.
I mean, like when Lego Star Wars, like the newest one came out, I bought it immediately. Like I just like I can't like I am such a sucker for Star Wars stuff. That's my point.
yeah,
Is that like so?
I'm
like,
so
those
glad
two
Tuck
episodes,
said
even though I
Lego
didn't
Star Wars.
watch it, I will watch it.
yeah. And I'm sure we'll do a Resistance watch through for the podcast at some point. But
I'll do it.
Or not.
that'll be years down
Or
the line.
not.
Hey, wait, we
That's
have
what we
Tuck
get for
now.
words.
We can do tiebreakers. Like it's
Nope.
not just like I think this and you think that, and there's two of us, so oh well. Now there's three of us, baby. Tiebreaker Tuck. Tiebreaker
can do it.
Tuck.
I can do it.
I'm just glad that Tuck brought up Lego Star Wars because has anybody seen the trailer for the new Lego Star Wars special?
I think I did. It's a summer thing, like a summer vacation, right?
Yeah, it's summer vacation.
I haven't. I didn't even know that was happening. But again, low tech Tuck.
It's okay. We
seen
love
it.
low
Yeah.
tech Tuck.
No, it made me so happy because whenever I'm like kind of down or something, I'll just go on Disney Plus and I'll go to the Star Wars section, and then I'll go to the like where all the Lego stuff is.
Yeah.
And I'll just play a couple episodes of a Lego Star Wars something. And I watched the Halloween special the other day. And then I saw that the summer one was coming, and I watched the trailer for that, and I was like, yes, another Lego special, because they're the best.
Well, and speaking of that kind of stuff too, you know what I watch every Christmas? I watch the really, really stupid, like original Star Wars Christmas special.
Yeah.
With like, it's like very 70s. Like it doesn't really look good at all, but like, I like it. Like it just like it's.
You watch the holiday special?
Yeah, dude. And then also like I watch sometimes too like the animated one with Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I love that. Like it's animated like the style of like the Grinch, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like long. I love that. I love it. Like it's stupid. I acknowledge it's stupid, but it's cool. Like
Hey.
It's funny because you know that the original holiday special, not the Lego one that came out a couple years ago, but like the original holiday special is not on Disney Plus.
What?
Yeah. I find it on YouTube or wherever I
Nice.
You still have to YouTube it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so I've got one last little tangent, and then we should probably get back to Rogue One.
Yeah, considering we're like 40 minutes in and we have not even started the podcast yet.
Yeah. So Taika Waititi, sorry, I always switch the K and T in his name, but got confirmed he's working on, I believe, a Star Wars trilogy, or at least a Star Wars film. But he was, I don't know if you guys had heard about this story. He worked with Natalie Portman, on the new Thor: Love and Thunder, and he asked her, like, hey, I'm working on a Star Wars project. Have you ever thought about being in Star Wars?
That's weird.
Yeah, and so she just
didn't know.
Yeah. And she just hit him with the I've been in the Star Wars movies. And he played it off like, oh, I forgot, but he may not have known. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
honestly, I mean, maybe he just has never seen a prequel.
Maybe,
As weird as it sounds, maybe he's never seen one.
And I hope.
Or what?
I do hope that if this does actually happen, and he makes some films or a trilogy or just one, whatever it ends up being, that he does do a little research on the prequel era, sequel era, because I know it's gonna be in an era that we haven't seen in the films before. I know that for sure.
It's Old Republic, isn't it?
I think so, or they might even do High Republic too. But I think he can do really, really good with some Star Wars films. But I just thought it was funny that he asked Natalie Portman if she wanted to be in it.
Yeah, no, actually, I actually like, speaking of Taika Waititi, his action comedy style is actually like one of the reasons why. I can tell you a bunch of reasons why, but he is actually my favorite director. So I am very excited.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
I've even like watched a lot of like his early stuff. Like, have you ever seen What We Do in the Shadows?
No, but I've heard of it. It's supposed to be really good, right?
They made an American show off of it, but the original movie it's actually a New Zealand, like kind of British comedy movie.
Oh, nice.
And Taika Waititi,
Well, he's from New Zealand, isn't he?
Yeah, right. And it was like one of his first like big movies. Basically, it's like, he wrote it, he directed it, he stars it, and it's actually really funny. Like, I highly suggest it, and that's like honestly what made me love Taika Waititi. And then also too, like, Mandalorian made me love him.
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok made me love him. I'm gonna watch Thor: Love and Thunder tomorrow. I'll probably love it. Like, I really like Taika Waititi and what he does.
No spoilers. It's amazing. Absolutely loved Love and Thunder.
I still haven't seen Multiverse of Madness, so
That's good too, by the way.
Yeah, it's definitely good. You should go check it out when you get the chance. Oh, I think it's on Disney Plus now.
it is. My wife and I have a deal.
That's your homework for after the podcast. You got to go watch the movie.
No, I can't watch it. Can't watch it without her. That's the
Well.
deal, man.
That's very sweet. You guys are cute.
Yeah, I'd rather watch it. I've seen so many spoilers at this point. I kind of know stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Multiverse Madness, I will say, like, it's exactly as was advertised. It is a superhero horror movie.
Yeah.
Or like thriller.
Yeah.
Like it's really good.
It's a superhero film heavily inspired by horror, like classic horror.
Yeah. I
Um,
really like it a lot. Yeah.
Do I really care about Doctor Strange? Do I really care about Wanda Maximoff? No.
Well, I do. I think they're cool. All right,
That's
boys. Rogue One. Our first scene is them after the attack on the planet. I can't think of which one, but
Edu.
yes. Galen Erso dies, and we get an argument between Jin and Cassian. And I wanted to ask, whose side are you on here? Whose side you taking?
It's just. I think I thought of it as during that fight is like one of the things this movie did was show that like the rebellion is not what we think it is, because Cassian's out that he makes to Jin was that he had orders.
Yeah.
And he disobeyed them. You know, he didn't kill Galen, but you know, she says those were, you know, rebellion bombs or alliance bombs that killed my father.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't the Empire. Those were alliance bombers that killed my dad. And I was just like, yeah, Cassian has orders. He didn't do it, but the alliance still killed their dad, just like how Galen had to build the Death Star, but he didn't want to, but he still built a flaw into it, but he still built the Death Star.
Right. And like at the end of the day, yes, the rebellion won, but a lot of people were still killed by the Death Star. Not as many as that could have been, but still a lot of people.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they both had a right to be upset. Obviously, his actions got her father killed. But on the other hand, he disobeyed direct orders to try and, you know, keep this man alive. So I don't necessarily think either one was in the right. How about you, Tech?
I mean, I think we're all kind of on the same page there. It really like it illustrates just like the duality of the situation. I mean, they both like, one thing I think is interesting is like they both think unapologetically that they're right.
Yeah.
And that's the point that they're pushing. And I think that it's, I don't know, it makes for a good moment.
Yeah, it really is. And I think it makes later moments more powerful between the two.
Yeah.
I don't have anything till Mustafar. If you guys have some notes here.
No?
Not
Well, I
now.
have Mustafar notes, but
Yeah. Cool. You know, just don't want to jump ahead. We get to see Mustafar again, and not only that, we get to see Vader's castle.
and back to Darth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know who is there telling Darth Vader that Krennic is there?
I don't, but I was watching it, and I was like, I should look up
That
who this
old
is.
man? That
Yeah.
old man? That's Vinay from the Star Wars Halloween special. That's Vinay, like Vader's servant at the castle.
Oh, cool. I haven't seen
He's
it.
like one of the main characters of the Halloween special that came out years later.
That's really cool. I actually haven't watched the Halloween special. Sorry, boys.
I haven't either.
I thought you had.
No, I went to...
You told me you were going to because we were going to do an episode on it.
Yes, and I looked it up on Disney Plus, and it wasn't there. And I was like, I think Mac's lying to me. There is no Halloween special. And then forgot about it for like a year and a half. Sorry. But Vinay's there.
I will say with Mustafar, really, what I think is just that I mean, again, it's just a very good Vader moment.
Yeah.
He's so, like, what's the word? He's so, like, self-righteous. That,
Yeah.
like, whatever he says is law, and you're just going to do it. Like, whether you want to or not. And so,
Yeah.
like, whenever, like, he's doubted, he immediately chokes the guy. Like, it's just, like, it's kind of, like, again, just a very menacing Vader moment.
Yes.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Yeah.
I completely agree, and I think correct me if I'm wrong, this should be Darth Vader's first live-action appearance since Episode 3, and his first appearance under Disney Star Wars, so it was really, really important for them to get him right here, and I think they did fantastic with Darth Vader in this film.
And it's the first time that we saw back to Darth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just I think his personality is right. I will say my only critique for that Vader scene, this is a small one, his voice isn't quite right.
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
I don't know if that's actually James Earl Jones using the voice or not, but you can tell. Oh, it is. Okay, well you can just tell that it doesn't sound exactly like old school Vader. It's very close.
I think it sounds really close to Episode 4 Vader. I don't think it sounds like Vader that we've heard in Obi-Wan.
That's actually,
and I think that's what's tripping you up. I think that's what's tripping you up, man, is because we've been binging Kenobi very recently, and you get, Hayden Christensen and James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah, well, honestly, that is probably it. But I don't know. That scene, whenever I watched it last night, was just not. I mean, his mannerisms were perfect. His attitude was perfect. His personality is perfect. But just the voice was just a little bit off.
Yeah.
Me.
And it's funny. I kind of disagree with you about the mannerisms and stuff. As far as in this one scene with Krennic, whenever we see Vader at the end, I agree. But I think, and maybe it's just me fanboying, but seeing Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader just felt really right. And the way that he played Darth Vader physically worked more for me.
Yeah. Now I think I'm with Tuck on this one. Just his mannerisms I felt fit really well, but I too noticed it. I didn't make an actual note of it, but I was like, his voice seems a little weird. But I think you're right, Mac, on the it's because we've been watching Kenobi.
Yeah. Well, and what I didn't hear was the reason it felt off was you know how when people play trumpets, trombones, brassy instruments, how they have that brassy effect.
Yeah.
They're kind of it's harsh at the end.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like original Vader in my mind had a more harsh effect to his voice, whereas this one didn't quite get there.
I could see
But
that.
you also got to think we were watching VHS tapes on really shitty TVs.
Yeah.
That is
Which
a
maybe
good point.
what produced the brassy effect. Maybe that wasn't how it was recorded. I don't know.
Yeah, the audio quality is much, much better now.
Yeah.
We were watching it in Ultra HD on flat screen TVs with or without sound systems, depending on what you have. I don't have a sound bar or anything, so I don't know what you guys have, but I mean, that could also be it. No, but I kind of agree. His voice does sound different, but I mean, the other thing that really got me about that scene with Vader is the interior design of Vader's castle is just, it's so mechanical and bare. And I mean, they really nailed Vader's castle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks really clean.
Clean, but also dirty and menacing, and it makes you as much as I want to explore Vader's castle, man, I wouldn't want to go there at all.
Yeah.
Maybe after
honestly,
he dies.
what it reminds me of is in Harry Potter, you ever you remember the Ministry of Magic, how it's that black tile?
Mm-hmm.
It's clean, but it's also kind of scary.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of the same effect where it's it's dark, but in a, I mean, of course, dark is a menacing way, but it's it's dark and clean and scary all at the same time.
Yeah.
And I really like it. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, be careful not to choke on your aspirations, director. Cringe or not?
It's cold. It's fire. I love that line. Top
Honestly,
5 Darth Vader lines.
I think honestly the way he spoke it, it's almost like he doesn't even mean it as a pun. He's just saying.
I don't know. I thought it was one of those moments where it's this is Darth Vader being Anakin Skywalker. Because Anakin Skywalker would say some things like that. He would say some weird, funny stuff like that. Like, I think that's Vader coming out, or Anakin coming out in Vader whenever we hear those kind of things.
Yeah, well, and, I mean, I do get that. And also like to revisit in the novelization of episode 3, there's that scene when Anakin kills all of the Confederate elite. And during that scene, he makes a lot of puns like that as he's killing them. And I will say, like, yeah, like I do think like Anakin would have said that, but it's just the way he said it was just so much more like
Cold,
menacing, and like it was a lot more like it wasn't Anakin anymore. It was Darth Vader saying it.
Yeah.
It was Darth Vader saying it, but it was definitely like an Anakin personality behind it.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, and this is obvious, but like an Anakin that has been twisted.
Right.
I mean, think of episode 3 at the beginning of episode. This is where the fun begins. Like, they're literally in one of the biggest space battles of the Clone Wars.
Right.
And Anakin's like, oh, this is where the fun begins. And then 5 seconds later, clone troopers are blowing up. There's buzz droids on Obi-Wan's ship.
Yeah.
R4 gets his head decapitated.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, R4. You will be missed.
By no one.
By me. Because droids are sentient and they deserve to be mourned.
So are we done with Vader's castle here, boys?
Yeah, that's all I've got.
Okay, so from one cringy line to the next. Back on Yavin 4 with the Rebel Alliance.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Rebellions are built on hope. Oh my gosh. I don't care who you are. I tried to be more open-minded this watch through, but that line gets me every time and makes me want to burn this movie to the ground.
I actually didn't mind it. I've really hated that line for a long time, but this watch through, I was like, it's not that bad.
What I think on that line is, like, so again, in the context of the movie when it came out, it was like the first, like, new Star Wars movie that we'd had in a long time.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, honestly, I think that it was just fan service. Like, it's the same thing as, like, in episode 7, whenever we see the Millennium Falcon. I don't know about y'all. Well, actually, I do know because y'all were there with me. You remember, like, the whole room when you're watching it erupted in claps.
Yeah.
And it's fan service. It's silly fan service, but it works.
Yeah.
Is what I think.
There's actually another line I wanted to talk about just before that, and we can come back to the rebellions are built on hope line if you want, but one of the generals, leaders, says they're talking to the one guy, the white man that we hate, that gives Cassian his orders, and she says, if it's war you want, you'll fight alone. Now, in context of this film, okay, yeah, maybe they make it seem like the rebellion hasn't been officially at war, but we see in Rebels there have been many, many battles between the rebellion and the Empire. Nothing major, but, you know, small skirmishes here and there.
That wasn't the main rebellion. Those were just cells, and they make that clear in the show as well.
Yeah,
that there were many cells of the rebellion, and then they finally meet like the big wigs of the rebellion.
Yeah,
you know, Bail Organa, your Mon Mothma, like those characters.
Yeah.
Well, I will say though, like to that point, what's interesting to me though is like if you want a war, you're gonna have to fight alone. But yet they've been building X-Wings for 10 years. They've been training personnel. They've been recruiting personnel. And then also on top of that too, whenever like the big space battle comes, as soon as the Mon Calamari ships arrive, the Imperial officer guy points and says, those are rebellion ships.
Yeah.
Like he's seen them before. Yeah, and so it's obvious to me that they're just like, that line is kind of off character because like they have been fighting.
Yeah.
And they have been trying to win this thing the whole time. And also, too, like, when the movie ends with Leia being seen, like, right before episode 4, you can also tell that, like, I mean, she was there on an approved mission as an important, like, VIP type person, and she was already basically a general at that point. And, like, I don't know, in order to have a general, you have to have an army. Is what I
well, that's because so the whole thing was, and we might as well just get more ahead in that specific scene is whenever Mon Mothma and Bail Organa leave that meeting right before, you know, Cassian and Jin kind of build their own rebellion within the rebellion. Is Mon Mothma and Bail are having that conversation
about finding Obi-Wan.
Yeah, about finding Obi-Wan. And I mean, that scene hit way harder after Obi-Wan, not gonna lie.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely
But Bail also mentions, you know, he knows the perfect person for the job, which he's talking about Leia.
Right.
Which is why she's there. Mm-hmm. On the Mon Calamari ship. But more, she's actually on the Tantai 4, which is actually within the Mon Calamari ship.
Right.
But yeah, that's who he's referring to, so that's why Leia's there.
Yeah.
Oh, I think...
But I don't know, I just... Basically, the line just is kind of off of what they're trying to push in that scene, but I do think it kind of... I mean, it works for what the movie is trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
It works for building conflict and heading toward a climax.
Yeah.
That's what it worked for.
I think that was my big problem with Rogue One, is that, like, you knew that this movie just had to keep being pushed to this certain point to where we weren't ever going to see these characters again. Everything was going to end in bloodshed. And I think that was my big problem with Rogue One, is that, like, if you're going to make this movie about these characters that are just going to die, why even make it? Like, I get a lot of it added to, like, certain parts of the rest of the universe, yes. But, like, in my opinion, this movie could have been a comic book, man.
It could have been, but I am actually really happy that it was made, because we're going into it with... we're looking at it from our perspective of growing up with Star Wars, but there are going to be millions of people who are going to watch Star Wars for the first time, you know, kids who are, 5, 6, 7 right now, who are either starting to watch it or almost old enough to watch it, who are going to watch it in a chronological order, episode 1 to episode 9, and they'll see Rogue One with fresh eyes, not knowing what happens in 5. I almost said 5, 7, and 8, but 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
So I think this will be a really important movie for them. And Tuck, you had Nicole watch them in chronological order, right?
Yep, that's how I like to watch them.
So did you do 3 Solo, Rogue One, 4, or did you skip Solo and Rogue One?
No, I did 3. I think actually, chronological order, again, like, I think is a little bit loose, but, like, I think we watched 3 Clone Wars, or no, I'm sorry, we watched 2 Clone Wars 3, and then we watched, I want to say Rogue One, then Solo.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah.
But so she watched Rogue One before watching episode 4.
Yes.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of questions, and that's why personally I like Rogue One, is because I acknowledge that honestly it is kind of a one-dimensional movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is a little bit fan service, and it is a little bit like not truly a deep Star Wars project, but I think what it does, and what it does very well, is clearly answering some questions that you would have if you watched episode 4 and that was it.
Yeah.
When you watched episode 4 and that was it, you didn't know anything else. I think the first thing you should watch after that is Rogue One, because then you understand, like, you know, why is there a random hole in the Death Star that a space wizard can hit with a torpedo?
Yeah.
Like, and you can understand, like, you know, like, who is Darth Vader? Why are we so afraid of him? And, like, what is the rebellion? What is the Empire? And I think the Rogue One answers a lot of those questions. Even though, like, the characters honestly are a little bit expendable and the movie is one-dimensional, it still is important to watch it, is what I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. So what did Nicole think? Like, did you talk about Rogue One and Episode 4 and kind of their connections at all?
I tried to hide a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
I tried not to.
Did she understand, though? Like, I don't mean to make her sound like an idiot, but, like, whenever you watch Rogue One and then you watch Episode 4, was she, like, able to understand if those movies happen, like, literally within moments of each other?
So that was actually the one thing I told her, was that, like, by the way, this movie we're about to watch takes place, like, right before Episode 4. And she was like, okay, cool. And so we watched Rogue One, and then so that was the one thing I had to say. And that's because, again, like, you don't really get that many, like, you see Bail Organa again, for instance, but other than him, there aren't really a lot of characters that are still alive when Episode 4 happens. So, like, I think it's very important to, like, I just explained that one thing, that, like, it's right before. And she watched it, and actually, like, one thing she said, as far as Rogue One does, is, like, I don't know if knowing that, like, where the Death Star's weak spot comes from really mattered, watching them in that order. Because then, like, it just made sense. Like, okay, we knew there was a weakness. They exploited it. But one thing she did say was that, like, basically, Rogue One, what it does is, like, it really establishes Vader as actually, like, intimidating before Episode 4.
Yeah.
Like, it actually, like, it makes him someone to be truly feared right before. And it's because the ending scene of Rogue One is, I think, my favorite Vader scene of all time.
Yeah. It is amazing. And I think it was mine until we got Kenobi. But, you know.
Well, yeah.
We've already talked long about that, but it was amazing.
This podcast, because we talked about Kenobi last time, or I guess in the order these episodes come out, it may be next time. I don't know. But
I don't know.
Who knows at this point?
One thing I will say is just, like, it really, like, Kenobi Vader is, I will acknowledge, cooler than Rogue One Vader, but, like, this was, like, as far as people who lived it, our first chance to really see, like, a truly, like, modern, scary Vader.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. Okay. So I think the only thing I really have for these last two scenes is I wrote in all caps, Bail, don't go to Alderaan. R.I.P. Yep. Miss you, buddy.
Oh, man, I just realized that.
Yeah, because he's
Bail's going to die.
Yeah, because he's like, I'm going to go tell my people we're going to war. See ya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
This is literally.
And he also, like, very hopefully runs to his starship. That's the last time he's ssprinting.
Yeah. And then he goes home and gets blown up.
Damn it, Elijah.
I'm sorry. Someone had to say it. And then I love the K2SO line where he says something nice to Jen, and I'm mad at myself for not writing it down because I don't remember. But then he's like,
and then she says, Cassian said I had to.
Yeah.
Right before that, though, did either of you guys notice that they call for General Syndulla on the base intercom?
Yeah.
Right before that.
I did, yeah.
That's interesting. No, I didn't notice.
Who's General Syndulla, Tuck?
Who?
Yeah. I like to play this little game with Elijah where he, like, says things after I make statements, and then I say, well, who's that? And he's like, oh yeah, and then he doesn't know who it is.
I mean, I will do a little bit of fan service and say, I don't know, Mac, please tell me.
That's nonsense. That's what Elijah does. I already know who General Syndulla is.
Boy,
I also know, but are we sure which one they're talking about?
That's true. It could be either one.
Yeah, because
No, he's too young. He's too young. He's still a boy.
No, I'm talking about her father. Because
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what happens. I haven't finished Rebels, so maybe he gets killed off. But as far as I know, he's still alive.
Who are you talking about, Tuck? Because obviously Elijah and I both know.
again, I only watched 2 seasons of Rebels, and like I know that they're one of the main characters, but I've forgotten that was like 3 years ago.
It's General
totally,
Hera Syndulla.
It's totally okay, Tuck. I forget who characters are all the time.
Yeah.
No shame. No shame, Tuck.
Wait, she made it general and imperial? Like in the Empire, she was a general?
No, Rebel General.
General?
Is Tuck high right now?
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. No worries,
I
Tino.
thought we were talking Empire for a second. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, they're still on Yavin 4. Right whenever Jin leaves the meeting, and before Cassian meets up with her, and everybody says we're gonna do a rebellion within the rebellion, they call for they call for General Syndulla on the intercom,
Right.
on the Yavin 4 base, and we can only assume that they're referencing Hera,
yeah.
because we do see Chopper in this movie as well.
Do we? Did I miss it?
Chopper's in Rogue One.
I believe you. I just must have missed it.
I did too. I didn't know.
Okay, so timeline-wise, like release dates, Rebels versus Rogue One, like which came out first?
Rebels
One.
because
Was it?
Rebels because Rebels is on Disney XD,
Gotcha.
which probably only maybe like 1 or 2 people
Had watched.
that listen to this show may know what Disney XD is, but Disney XD was actually a later form of Disney. Wasn't it Disney X?
Jet
it used
X,
to come
I think.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like Disney Jet X or whatever that used to come on Saturdays, and they played old cartoons like
Okay.
Power Rangers and.
So
Yeah, wasn't it basically meant for like Disney, but like not little kids? It was kids.
It was for tweens.
Yeah.
Disney X or Jet X, whatever it was called it was for tweens. They had that one show, was it Chaos? Do you remember that one?
That seems
where
familiar.
they would go into the card game and they became the characters that they had.
Yes, I do remember that.
Chaotic. It was called Chaotic. That show was dope.
Okay, so I looked it up. Rebels first aired in 2014 and last aired in 2018. So technically before and after Rogue One. But
Tuck was only allowed to watch Bible Man, so he doesn't know about Disney Jet X or
It's okay,
X.
Tuck. I was also only allowed to watch
also,
Bible Man.
Say what you will, is still something that I find interesting. It's like, to be honest with you, writing's terrible, acting's
Awful.
terrible,
Awful, yeah.
CGI's awful. If you are someone who didn't grow up with it, you probably shouldn't watch it because you'll be deeply disappointed.
Yeah.
But as someone who was like 4 or 5 years old, I loved it. But also, like, I was very simple at 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
The only thing that I still think is cool from that age, Bible Man, still lame as hell. It was lame as hell whenever I was 4 and 5. The only thing that's still cool is like the special episodes of VeggieTales, like the Pirates episode and the Lord of the Rings episode,
Yeah.
like the VeggieTales specials. Like those are still
Lord
dope.
of the Beans.
And actually, those were actual movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like Jonah, you remember that one? Like the
Mhm.
whale and all? Yeah.
That was the Pirates one.
Yeah. The
Oh, yeah,
pirates who
that is
don't
the
do
Pirates
anything.
one. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, those are dope.
Yeah, but I'm with you,
Everyone's
Tech.
still
I'll
watching
get down to
it.
some Bible Man.
Yeah.
Bible
I
Man
mean,
sucked.
That nostalgic value. Oh yeah, no,
Yeah,
Bible
I mean-
Man sucks. But I'm rocking with Bible Man, and
Yeah,
Bible Man's
I grew
rocking
up
with
in a
me.
very conservative household, and I stand by Bible Man because he did quote scripture to me, and he did his job of like teaching me what the Bible says.
Yeah.
Even though it's
You know what? You know who would beat up Bible Man? Larry Boy. Larry Boy would crush Bible Man.
Larry Boy versus Bible Man. I don't know.
I like it, dude. Honestly, we should have we could do like a special episode where it's like Christian kid TV show character death match, and it's like literally like they're in like an octagon and they have to fight each other.
Yes, I've been learning how to what's the word? Frick. Power scale characters. That's what it's called. I will power scale Larry and Bible Man.
And have them fight.
My next note isn't until they're about to go in the gate, the little fence, the planet-wide shield.
Okay.
What do you got?
Oh, Bodhi's Han moment. When they're about to go through Bubble Gate.
Yeah.
Bodhi's Han moment. I like that.
What does he say?
Whenever Han's talking, so it kind of mirrors in episode 4 whenever they're trying to break Leia out of the prison or the detention level, and he's talking to that guy on the intercom, and Bodhi's talking to the guy on the intercom to try to transmit codes.
Right.
It's very similar.
I see it. My note was they're talking about if it doesn't work, they're all gonna die in the vacuum of space, and K2SO.
But not me.
Not me. I can survive in space.
Dude, he is my favorite character. If K2SO wasn't in this movie, I would have never watched it. Besides the original time watching it with you guys.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad.
Not even for this podcast would I have watched it again.
That would have been a Tuck and I solo episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sans Mac.
Yeah. No, K2SO, I will say, is actually, yeah, he is my favorite droid. He really is. It's him and then BD1 from Jedi Fallen Order. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
All amazing droids. I can't remember if we talked about it with you, Tuck, or if it was on a different episode, but we definitely got to do a top 5 droids ranked video.
Yeah, I'd love that.
It may have been an after show talk with Tuck.
Possibly, or
And
might
also,
have
I
been.
would love it if it really got very serious and at the end we're all yelling at each other.
At each other for who's the best droid. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, I just labeled this section prep. That's literally all I wrote in my notes was kind of them landing on the planet, breaking up into teams, setting the bombs, getting into the building, like pre-Battle of Scarif. What are your guys' thoughts about this section?
I think is Jin makes that big speech, right?
Oh,
She's
yes,
like,
the
"Well,
speech.
We'll take the chances as chances come, and whenever the chances run out, well, I guess that's it. And I was kind of like, they knew it was a suicide mission from the start with the way she makes that speech, and then her and Cassian and Bodhi have that talk. They're like, Bodhi asks, he's like, well, what's my job? And Cassian tells him, you just keep the engines running. You're the only way we get off this planet.
Right.
And I'm like, but Jin's speech, literally, what does it mean? What's the word I'm looking for whenever you're saying the opposite of? Not correlate, but...
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, basically, she's telling them they're all gonna die.
Yeah, but
Essentially.
I felt more of it was a we win or we die, this or that, not necessarily 100% we're gonna die.
Yeah, but I mean, it was very suicide mission from the start, and then they tell Bodhi you just keep the engines running, buddy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because that's pretty much all Bodhi was good for. He got the message to him. He's just a pilot. His character has kind of served his purpose at this point.
I think it was a little more than that, because I think it gave them, not just Bodhi, but it gave everyone a little hope. Hey, there's the pilot staying on the ship to get us a way out if we make it. We win or we die.
Yeah, but Bodhi kind of sucks at everything besides being a pilot.
Hey, they couldn't have won without Bodhi. He was important member of the team.
The way your voice went right now reminds me of that video where it's like, it's ma'am. So, just side note. And then one of my last things is this Scarif or Florida Keys? Because I can't tell.
I like it. I thought the setting for this battle was really cool. I think it's something we haven't really seen yet, at least at that point in Star Wars. A nice, like, jungle beach.
Yeah, and with the tropical troopers, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and
The shore troopers.
What?
The shore troopers, very cool.
Yeah.
Did you guys know? So the shore troopers, I saw a video on this recently. That was actually a special duty for the stormtroopers. Like you had to go. Yeah, you had to go and you had to be eligible for the program and like test into the program. And then like it was a special duty.
that's really cool.
Also, you had to be an officer.
No, you could be a sergeant.
Is that NCO or is that CO?
I don't know as far as Imperial ranks, but the lowest ranking person in Shore Troopers was a sergeant.
Yeah, but I guess I thought that was still an officer.
It might be as far as the Imperials go. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know my Imperial ranks.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You guys know so much more about the military than I do, so.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately for me, the military I know about is
Old.
mostly pre-Civil War, so that
Yeah.
was like over 150 years ago. So.
Gotcha.
And that's only American. Is really
Yeah.
the only thing.
Okay, I think the only note I had before the battle really starts is K2SO violating that other K2 unit.
Yeah, the other security. Well, not just that, but how do you guys feel about how they used whenever they were scoping out that one part of the base before they were about to blow up the like set off the explosions? They used like the old binos, but like the visuals.
Yeah.
Like it visually looked like the old binos that we see in episode 4.
I liked it because, like, while our technology has obviously changed and gotten better, this is moments before episode 4, so obviously they'd be using the same technology.
I think it's always a gamble, though. I mean, I'll leave this as an open-ended question for both of you guys, but like, I think it's always a gamble because, like, we know that's how Star Wars binos always work. Is they always kind of look kind of grainy because, I mean, that's how they looked like whenever we saw them in the old trilogy.
Yeah.
But would it bother you so much if maybe they looked a little bit better? Or does Star Wars binos always have to have kind of that grainy image that we've been accustomed to?
I enjoy the graininess, but also I wouldn't be upset if they were clearer.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy the graininess. I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I think I'm with Tuck on this one. Like, I think it works. I'm happy it's here, but I probably wouldn't be too upset if they changed it.
Yeah, I think it always kind of brings us back to, like, Elijah and I have talked about it before on the show. Like, there are certain things, and I mean, like, as cheesy as it sounds, but, like, I feel it in my, like, as cheesy as it sounds, like, I feel it in my soul. Like, there are just certain things, like, whenever you see them in Star Wars, it's just, like, there's just something as fans that, like, you feel it. You feel it in your chest. Like, you feel it in your heart. Like, there are just some images in Star Wars, or whenever they do certain things, like, you just feel like you're home. You feel like that's, like, your safe place. Like, whenever it comes up in Obi-Wan, whenever Obi-Wan uses the binos, and it's really grainy and stuff, like, that's just one of those things where it's like, man, it doesn't matter what kind of media I'm seeing. It doesn't matter if it's Boba Fett or Mandalorian or Obi-Wan Kenobi series or Rogue One or Solo. Like, whenever I see binos look this way, I know I'm home. It just, like, as controversial as the sequel series is.
Yeah.
Whenever that trailer came out, and we can all remember it because we all watched it together. We all remember whenever it came out. We may not have been together for sure or not, but whenever we all first saw that trailer for the sequel series, and we heard Harrison Ford say, on board the Millennium Falcon for the first time since, the 70s and say, Chewie, we're home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that feeling you got, like, it's special.
Yeah.
And that's just one of those things. Like, something as small as old grainy Bino visuals give me.
Yeah. No, I get it.
That was a very long tangent that I just went off of
It's okay.
something that's not very important.
It's the feeling of Star Wars.
But also
Yeah.
something like equal to that is like in Clone Wars, whenever Rex uses like his monopod,
Yeah.
his monocle, you still get that grainy feel,
Right.
and it's also
Yeah.
like it's cool. And then also like for me, like another thing, like just visually, one thing I really like is like, and again, I'm a prequel kid. We all are.
Yeah.
And like whenever Vader's helmet first comes on and you can see his HUD light up in his lenses as it's coming down, and like it's red with the crosses and stuff, like it looks a lot like the binos, or like one thing I like too is like the maps whenever like in Rogue One they're plotting their attack or whatever, and it's those weird like geometric shapes like just flashing across the screen.
Yeah.
I love that. I love it. I think it's really cool. And also I'm a sucker for maps, but it's really cool.
I get it. I get it. It's really
No,
cool.
it's just it's those feelings you get. Yeah, for sure.
And then we get the bombs going off.
Yep.
Right before the bombs go off.
Right before
and it's
the
something
bombs
that we
go
always
off.
mention. Sorry, I always have to do it in every Star Wars movie.
Of course.
They talk about it, and we've done it since we started the show, Elijah. The stormtroopers that always seem to be together and are talking. Whenever Chirrut,
Yes, I know
Chirrut
exactly
is
what
taking
you're
out
talking about.
the troopers together. These two troopers are walking together, doing their normal patrol on the beach, and one mentions to the other. He says, "Hey, I don't know if you've heard, but the T-15s are obsolete."
Yeah.
And you and I always talk about the T whatever number they are in whatever series we're watching. And I just saw it and I was like, I kind of thought about it today whenever I was watching it, because I'm not going to lie, this second half of Rogue One was kind of rough for me. I didn't really want to do it. But I heard that line and I was just like, it made me think about the podcast and where we're at now. And now Tuck's on the podcast and it's great. And I love it that like another one of our best friends is here to like
Talk about
experience
this
this
thing we
with
love.
us, and like
Yeah.
and how long we've been doing the show and how far we've come. And I was just like, I thought back to like our really early episodes and I was like, we used to point out the T whatever lines, and like I'm not gonna lie, it really made me sit down and think about it, and I was like, man, we've come a long way.
We really have. We really have. And we still have a lot to go.
Yep.
So yeah, then we get the bombs going off, and this is actually one of my favorite moments in this film, because we get it from the perspective of the Imperials. They're in their control room or whatever. They're chilling. It's just a normal day, and then all around them, bombs just start going off, and everyone is just silent and speechless until Krennic, tells them to, get moving, whatever he said. I meant to write
Deploy the Harrisons.
deploy the garrisons. Yes, and he gets everyone going, but that moment just felt so real. Like you could feel the shock and terror in that room.
Does anybody else remember that meme though?
Yes.
Deploy the Harrisons. It was just a visual of like stormtroopers running through the water, but their faces had all been replaced with Harrison Ford's face.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tuck,
To
you can
that
say something?
point was like what I liked was like whenever he says deploy the garrisons, he fell down and like you can just see the panic in his face. Like he's absolutely a military officer losing his mind because like they're being beat down by these rebel scum, these like what they think of as inhuman, incapable apes.
Right.
are absolutely crushing them
Yeah.
for a second, and he's just like, deploy the cars. Like he's absolutely panicking, and I love it. I think
Yeah.
it's really
Well,
cool.
I think not only that, but like I think whenever you think about, the Empire in and of itself, like you think it's all these really strong military minds, and I don't really think that's the case. I think there's really big figureheads, and then behind them are like these military minds that talks about, like Krennic and Tarkin and a couple of the others that we see. But like for the most part, when you think of the original trilogy, like the top leaders in the Empire that we see, like these officers, they're just bumbling idiots.
Yeah.
And I really don't think that's for comic relief or anything. I think it's to show that like the Empire was just, it was the grand machination of Palpatine's plan. But he also just put these people into power and was like, hey, you're now the leading officer of this whole garrison, and you just need to figure it out. And I think that really shows, especially in this scene, because Krennic obviously has military background by the way he acts, because if you look at the explosions and you look at his reaction, he can immediately tell that, this just wasn't an explosion that happened at the fuel depot because stormtroopers were gassing up the tank, and one of them dropped his lit cigarette on the ground and it blew up. No, that's not what happened. This was a direct attack by terrorist forces, which to them are the rebels, because the explosions, the way they go off, is a very key indicator that they were attacked.
Yeah, it wasn't just one explosion, it was multiple explosions all over the place.
Well, and if you look at the explosions, they're timed.
Yeah.
So you can see the movement and you can map where most likely the rebels' position are now.
Right.
Because the way that the bombs go off, which is exactly how a terrorist strike moves. You can tell where they were first on the way that the timing of the bombs goes off. Because obviously your first bomb
was set first.
Will set first because they're moving along the path of the bomb so they can get clear of the blast path.
Right.
And that's why, like, honestly, that whole scene, that whole, like, fight over the force field scene, to me is just very, very, like, picturesque and accurate of what, like, a classic naval toe-to-toe battle looks like. I mean, I really think that that's, like, very, again, just as a military history guy, it's just, it made me happy because of the way they coordinated that scene.
Yeah.
It was very much like, what movie is it? I want to say it's called On the Far Side of the World. But anyways, it's a movie about like this British officer, and he's chasing this French ship in this darkness and in this like open water of like the Napoleonic Wars.
Yeah.
And they're chasing each other, they're firing at each other, they're playing chess. Just like over and over you see that in that movie. And that was like, that's kind of how that scene made me feel like. That like it's two main characters playing like Navy chess against each other. And I think it's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. So before that, over the force field battle starts, we kind of get the rebellion like, oh, hey, they're on Scarif. Maybe we should join them. Maybe we should go help. And we get to see our boys again, R2-D2 and C-3PO. Just for a moment. But I thought it was awesome to see them again.
Yeah, and while whenever they flash back, right before they go to Yavin, the Imperials are freaking out, and it flashes back to Tarkin for just a second. I forget what the dialogue is, but I finally figured out what the CGI in this film looks like. We kind of talked about it in part one, Elijah, but Tuck knows because I know for sure he's seen it. They tried really hard for it to look good, and like I said, we talked about it in part one, and it did look good for the time.
Yeah.
But it really looks like the CGI in this, and I don't know why Tarkin's looks, more like it than Leia's does whenever she appears later in the film.
Yeah.
It looks exactly like the Beowulf movie that came out in the 2000s. The CGI Beowulf.
I'm sorry, my friend. I'm gonna have to hard disagree. Like,
It does because
it
there's
looks
parts of
so
that
much
Beowulf
better
that
than the
looks really.
Beowulf.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't look better, but there's parts of that Beowulf film because I remember the first time I watched it. Actually, the first time I watched it, I'm pretty sure was with Tuck.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were up at like 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tuck spent the night at my house when we watched it, and like that movie was crazy because it looked really real at certain parts, and other parts looked like it was CGI, like really heavily. But there were parts of that movie that looked really real, and I think a lot of this film, whenever it comes to those characters, especially Tarkin, looks like that.
Honestly, I will say I disagree. Like Tarkin, I think looked more real to me than Leia did, and
yeah.
it's because like the CGI Leia, I felt like had like more makeup on, for instance, than the original character. Like you can, like her the color on like her cheeks doesn't look the same.
No, it's a lot more red.
Yeah, and I think that for me is what kind of like as far as CGI is like. Okay, yeah, like this is a little bit too. They're trying a little too hard. Whereas like with Tarkin, I actually felt like he looked pretty realistic. To me.
Yeah, I don't know. I never really the CGI for those two characters never really bothered me too much, but I don't know. I'll have to go. I will go watch Beowulf again and like try and compare the two because I haven't seen it in so long.
I try to watch it every once in a while. That movie's so good.
Yeah, no, honestly, it was such a like. I remember whenever me and Mac watched it for the first time, we were like, 16. So this was close to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was just such an unreal experience. Like it was just like, wow, technology's come this far. Like it was.
Well,
just
no,
like,
even when we were watching it, we were both like, we couldn't figure out during a bunch of different parts. Like there were parts where like we thought it was half CGI and like half real actors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I really like. I mean, whenever we watched it, I want to say that's like the first movie that I can really remember confusing me like that. Like other than that, movies before I'd been easily able to tell if it's CGI or person. But like that was the first movie that I was like, holy shit, they finally done it. Like they've basically been able to replicate my human vision.
Yeah.
Which even then, like, I'm pretty sure Beowulf was pretty old by that point. By the time you and I were, yeah,
It came out in 2007.
2007.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? 2007?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, we're watching it in like 2013.
Yeah, around then.
And like we were just like, holy crap. That's crazy.
Okay, so we have, I think, officially gotten into the Battle of Scarif. I have a few notes, but I mean, overall, I really, really enjoyed this battle. I mean, the constant switching between like the battle on the ground to the battle above the planet to Jen and Cassian and K2SO, like infiltrating the base, like. I felt like pacing was really good. The action was really good. I really like this. This might be one of my favorite battles in Star Wars.
Really?
Yeah.
I like seeing AT-ATs again.
That moment where the AT-ATs come out of the smoke is
The mist,
amazing. Yeah.
I was gonna say like really my only notes were like that battle was just it was kind of cool because like it just kind of illustrated how like the ships above and the people below like work together for the common cause to get the plans. Like it just kind of like in a very basic way it illustrated the point of getting the plans.
Well, and I saw a thing the other day that was like the Battle of Scarif is what inspired Han and Admiral Akbar to come up with a plan for Jedi. Like using a stolen enemy ship to go through
Oh
a
yeah.
base that's fortified by a shield and make entry into a planet.
Yeah, okay, that is a really good point. There's a moment during the battle where they're above the planet and the little complex that opens and closes the shield around the planet, where like 50 or 60 TIE fighters just fly out at once from the same hangar, and I was just like, there's so many of them. So many TIE fighters.
Yeah, well, and back to
there's a shot where you can see how many TIE fighters are in those hangar bay. It's really quick. It's whenever they're entering the shield gate, or our heroes are, and you get to look in one of the hangar bays, because I saw it too today, and I was like, man, that's a lot of TIE fighters.
Yeah. Sorry, Tech, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying, in that part, I just thought it was really cool. Like, speaking again about the nostalgia thing, like with the binocs and the monocles and all that stuff. Like, the TIE fighter noise is forever something that, like, to me just is Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, that TIE fighter, and that's why, like, that I cranked it up whenever I like saw the TIE fighters coming out. I cranked the volume up because I wanted to hear them. And it was there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What do we think about Red and Gold Leader coming back?
Yeah. Oh, I also wanted to talk about Blue Squadron as well.
Well, Blue Squadron was new for this, right? Because
Right.
Red and Gold Leader are from Episode 4. And
Right.
you can tell they're from Episode 4.
And we don't get Blue Squadron because they get obliterated here.
Did they all die? I know the general of Blue Squadron dies.
Yes, the general dies, and I think anyone on the planet probably died in the explosion. So,
Oh, yeah.
and then we had several members die crashing into the shield as it closed. We had several members die fighting TIE fighters on the planet. And we had 3 surviving members who made it, who didn't crash into the shield, but didn't make it into the planet. So they probably fought in, the battle above. But I'm guessing if any of them did survive, they were probably just put into either Red or Gold Squadron.
Yeah. And they used old footage
Yeah.
of the original Red and Gold Squadron leaders, which I didn't mind. I mean, you could kind of tell that it was old footage, but it got cleaned up really well, and it didn't bother me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought it looked better than what we see from, like the Tarkin footage and stuff.
Right. It probably helps that it was quick. There was, other things going on. They had the helmets on.
And they're just cockpit scenes.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
really close up. There wasn't much to clean up there. Like Tarkin, like he's saying really like crisp lines, and like you need him to move from this area to this area or have certain facial expressions. Like, in those old battle scenes, especially from Episode 4, like half of the leaders are just, singing there in their cockpits and they're like, yes, we're 5 meters away from target.
Right.
Here we go. Everyone here in their cockpits. Nobody move their faces, just your lips.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, no, I thought it was really cool getting to see them again. I really like that we got to see Blue Squadron before, RIP, I guess. But overall, I really just enjoyed this battle. I think my next note really is when they're in the data center trying to get the plans.
Yeah, but I have one. Does anybody know what those TIE fighters were? Those really weird looking ones?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll look that up while you talk about them.
Which ones are you talking about?
So they had like it looked like a troop transport on the bottom, and then like 2 triangle TIE fighter wings on the top, and they were trying to kill the Blue Squadron guys that were coming in.
Yeah, so in the video game, I think it's called Squadrons. It came out like a couple years ago. Very, very, very good Star Wars space simulator, by the way. excellent. But those are your support ship. They're called U-Wings.
No, U-Wings are rebel ships, bro.
Well, I'm sorry, but they're like in the Imperial side has the
Version?
same thing.
Yeah,
It's the same
Okay.
thing.
they're TIE strikers.
TIE Strike. Okay, yeah. Yeah, but they're the same. Like in that game, they're your support ship. They're how you reload and other stuff like that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because I played a lot of that game and I loved it. But like it's basically they are.
I heard so
support-
many negative reviews of Star Wars Squadrons that I never played it.
I will say I really enjoyed it. I really did.
Tuck is right. We do get to see U-Wings on the Rebels. Because that's what that one, like, monkey-ish...
Yeah, I know what a U-Wing is.
Yeah, they've got the gunner that's shooting out the legs of the AT-ATs.
Yeah.
Also an amazing scene.
Yeah, that scene where all the AT-ATs like crumble. I
Yeah.
love that part. Like they literally shoot the leg and it just crumbles, or the one they blow the middle out of the AT-AT. Which I mean, we all know that like the middle of the AT-ATs are actually the troop transports. Like that's where all your troops are.
Right.
Just a hollowed out troop transport.
But, yeah. TIE strikers. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're
Yeah,
stealing
that's like
plans.
So they're
What?
stealing plans.
Hyperspace tracking.
Really, the only thing that I had to note was, we talked about this in the last one, is the importance of Stardust, and that being what her father labeled the plans to the Death Star under.
And hyperspace tracking.
Yeah. We get to see a little hyperspace tracking.
I'm very interested about all those projects that they were talking about, because there's projects like War Mantle, Black Saber, which of course could be in reference to the Dark Saber.
Oh, maybe. Maybe it's in reference to that one hut that built a giant lightsaber in space that could cut through planets.
Maybe.
But yeah, I don't have a lot of notes for here. I was just
Wait,
enjoying
Tuck
it.
is the EU boy. What's your opinion on these project names, Tuck? Tell us. Because there's
good
Project
question.
War Mantle, there's the hyperspace tracking, which of course we saw later in the sequels. Project, Black Saber. Tell us, please.
So honestly, I don't know what those are, but I will say like that scene just made the like, and I'm not normally a conspiracy theorist kind of guy, but like that made the conspiracy theorist in me come out. Where it's like, oh, wait, this governing body that is the bad guy is doing all this like scary stuff. What is
Yeah.
the scary stuff? I want to know.
For sure.
And also like, random people on the internet, like if you can tell me what these are, I'd greatly appreciate it, because
Yeah.
I would love to understand what it is, because I honestly I don't know.
I'm sure
really
some
don't.
some of these have been answered at some point.
Yeah, but I love like crazy, like especially like in the Star Wars universe, like crazy like conspiracy type things.
Yeah.
Like what was the one where Emperor Palpatine dies and it's Operation it's not
Cinder.
Storm, but like
Cinder.
basically just obliterates things
Yeah.
because he died. It's is it Firestorm? No, it's Phoenix.
Well, are you talking about from the Battlefront video game?
Yeah,
Because that's called Operation Cinder.
that's right. That's what I'm thinking.
And there's many
Yeah.
different facets of Operation Cinder. Elijah doesn't know because he still hasn't finished the campaign of Battlefront 2, and it's been out since like 2016.
Yeah, I downloaded it, played it for 5 minutes, and then it was just taking up space on my console for about 3 months, and then I deleted it again. I'm sorry, boys. I'll
And
get
then
there
actually,
eventually.
I was talking about it earlier, but like Squadrons actually has they have a component of Operation Cinder in there too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like at the end of that campaign, they talk about Operation Cinder, because the last battle you're participating and or stopping it,
Yeah.
because you play both sides in the game. But,
Oh, that's really cool. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
yeah.
Okay, then we get K2SO's death.
No, K2SO doesn't die.
K2SO dies, and he dies hard here. Sorry, friend. He has so many blaster holes in him.
No, he doesn't.
Hey, but I'll give you this. They may have downloaded his memory somewhere, so he could come back.
Scarif blew up. What do you mean? Where'd they download it? He blew up.
Before they left. Like, the rebels might have had his memory on, like, stored somewhere.
Probably not. He's actually dead. Sorry, man.
He's dead. He's dead.
I was trying to cheer Mac up, but yeah, sorry.
He only lives in my heart.
I'm a goner. That's all.
Somebody sketch myself soul. I don't remember. Yeah, but I really do think K2SO is one of the saddest deaths in Star Wars. I know I text you guys that, but you know, I stand by my words.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, the scene where his lights, like his eyes fade out, that got me. Like when, you truly know he's dead.
Yeah.
That really hurt.
And then
big ow on that one.
I don't have anything until Jin and Andor are on the beach, so I did not take a lot of notes.
Chirrut dies.
I know.
He dies like right after K2.
I know. I just, at that moment, I was just like, I'm just gonna watch. I'm just gonna watch and enjoy.
Chirrut dies, and then Baze goes out in kind of like a blaze of glory, I guess.
Yeah. And then our pilot boy gets blown up too.
Yeah, Bodhi, and he literally says that, like, he sends off the message. He's so happy that he finally did something good, and he knows he got it right. And then he says, "This is for Galen." And then a grenade literally gets tossed inside of the ship, and he blows up.
It's really sad. I don't know why I'm laughing, but just the way you describe it, I mean, that sucks.
I mean, that's my whole problem with this movie is that, like, I get that it's supposed to add to the overall story of Star Wars, and it does. I will not say that it doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Rogue One does not add to the Star Wars story.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, is it needed? And it's like the Andor series. Do we really need the Andor series?
I really do think it's. I think it's needed.
Give me a Dexter Jetster series.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think you can watch Star Wars without it, but I think it makes Star Wars better if you do watch it.
Rogue One, definitely.
Yeah.
Andor, we'll see.
Yeah.
But
we will see.
But Rogue One, I think it does help. And also, like, to your point of, like, people dying and, like, for instance, like, he just saved everyone, like Bodhi, and the grenade just gets tossed in. Also, though, isn't that realistic? Like, I hate to be the cynical, cold one here, but isn't that sometimes how people die? Is, like, in ways that, like, you know, you just did the greatest thing and you're the hero, but your hero moment gets cut short because some other dude tossed a grenade in there. Like, I just think
and
that's somewhat realistic.
Fine.
Yeah.
That's fine, but that's not the usual Star Wars story we get. And I think that's, like, the big difference of Solo and Rogue One is that, like, Solo was our heroes that we're always accustomed to seeing. And our heroes lost in Solo.
Yeah.
And they lost in Rogue One, but, like, more people were okay with them all losing in Rogue One because you knew that everybody had to die in Rogue One.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And then our heroes lose in Solo, and everybody gets so mad over Solo, but, like, we know that these people, one, can't die. Besides, like, the characters that we've never met before because, well, we've never met them before, so they have to die.
Right.
I'm just saying there's a reason my wife has seen Solo and not Rogue One.
Oh, I can just tell, just your luck. It's going to be her favorite one whenever she watches it.
Probably not. I mean, she watches Star Wars to make me happy. I don't think she really cares one way or another.
Wow. She really cares about you, and that's what matters.
That's true.
Okay, what else do you guys have before the beach?
The Hammerheads.
Oh yes. Okay, I wasn't even thinking about that. That was freaking sick.
Which the Hammerheads, and I hope Tuck knows, the Hammerheads got brought back from the EU.
Yeah. Yeah, those, like, before that movie, they didn't, like, they weren't.
It didn't exist.
Yeah, yeah. But also the Hammerheads, it really, really reminds me of, like, their other escape ships. Like, they're smaller, they aren't capital ships, they're, frigates. Like, it reminded me of the frigates. But they just have a huge rammer on the end.
Yeah.
But also, again, I think that's very realistic of like a naval type battle, which is, I mean, you know, the Empire and the Rebels both call their ships a navy.
Right.
In Star Wars, it's a navy.
Right.
And like, you know, space is their sea, and I just thought that was really cool.
It makes sense. Space.
Yeah.
Since man has explored space has always technically fallen under maritime law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how they rule things in space, actually, is everything has always fallen under maritime law. And the thing about the Hammerheads in Rogue One was the Hammerheads had never been used in this way before. And that's why General Radiss's idea was such like a big idea. And that's why we never see it again, is because then the Empire started to learn new maneuvers and stuff like that, because they knew that like this could be a detrimental thing that the Rebels could use against us. So that's why we don't see it again. But for this one time, it was pretty cool.
Right. And it also was very situational. Like, the power on that ship had went out. I'm sure it wouldn't have been able to ram it, at least as well, if it was still operational.
No, they had to use everything they had.
Yeah.
To even move a Star Destroyer that was
just
essentially
floating.
dead stick.
Yeah.
It was dead stick, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I mean, just ship to ship, it's easily 10 times their size.
Right.
So
even bigger.
You'd have to only be in space where there's no weight to be able to move it.
Well, because the Hammerhead class is, I believe, the same class as the Tantai 4, which Tuck is right, it's a frigate. It just has a different head on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, again, I think one of just a super iconic Star Wars moment. Like, I'll give you that maybe overall it's not the best Star Wars film. Okay. But, like, there are just some fantastic moments in this film that I think really make it worth watching. Like this Hammerhead moment.
Yeah, like I said, it is one-dimensional. Some of the lines are definitely fanfare, but it's something that I think is important to watch as a Star Wars fan, because it leads so perfectly into A New Hope.
Yeah. At least once. You know, I'm not saying it has to be like every time you do a Star Wars watch through, you have to watch Rogue One, but I think at least once you need to watch Rogue One.
I think I'll be putting Rogue One back on the shelf for quite some time.
Quite some time. Well.
But also, you did see it, and it does help A New Hope.
Yeah.
No, I'm not taking away from that, but I also think, and I have thought this since Mandalorian came out, excuse me. I think Star Wars should be a TV show at this point in our time. I'm not saying Star Wars should never return to movies. I'm not saying that any Star Wars movie we get after this point will be bad. I think Rogue One would have been a better TV show. I think that Solo would have been a better TV show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love Solo.
Just give them a little more time to actually develop the characters, their relationships, and build that climax. I could see that.
Because, I mean, think about it. We all wanted it. We're all diehard Obi-Wan boys. We all love the prequels. Think about if they would have given us an Obi-Wan movie opposed to an Obi-Wan show.
Yeah.
We would have not had the same feelings. You couldn't have the same emotional attachments that you do during a serial as you do for a movie, because a movie is very limited.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if you say that it's a 2.5 hour movie. I mean, we've talked about it before on the show, Elijah. The extended versions of Lord of the Rings. already long movies, but think about how much more you get with those extended versions as opposed to the regular 2 hour to 2.5 hour movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. The extended editions, if you're watching Lord of the Rings, that's the way you gotta go, because you get so much more context.
You get a lot more heart and everything too.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think if you would have done this movie as a serial, I think I personally would have cared more about what was going on. Because I'm just going to be honest, after this watch through, I probably won't watch Rogue One again.
That's okay. I mean, you know, that's your Star Wars. And I mean, what have we been saying since our very first episode? Your Star Wars is your Star Wars.
100%.
I'm trying to find something that will tell me how long the total Obi-Wan Kenobi runtime is, but from episodes 1 to episode 3, episode 1 to episode 5, the runtime is 228 minutes, and that's excluding the last episode, so
that's almost 4 hours.
yeah, so I mean
3 hours, 48 minutes.
They, 3 hours, 48 minutes. And the last one, I think, was the longest episode, too, wasn't it? So we're probably looking at close to 5 hours of total time. Like, there's no way they could have fit that in a movie.
That's what I'm saying. Is if we would have gotten an Obi-Wan movie, they would have had to have chopped so much of the things of the show that were really important moments.
Because if you look at, like, movie, like... Because honestly, people making movies, the only thing they care about is the money and also like the amount of viewers watching the movie. And other than absolute diehards like us and our fans out there, like not many people would be willing to watch a 5-hour movie. That's not realistic for people making.
Release the 4-hour edition of Revenge of the Sith.
Release the 4-hour edition, you cowards.
I would watch it, but also, too, if it was playing in a theater, I can guarantee you it would probably be just us in the theater, boys.
Yeah,
it's just kind of the way it is.
No, I completely agree.
Dude, if it wasn't just us in the theater, I wouldn't go. I hate the movie theater. I wait until everything gets released on video on demand these days.
Yeah.
So really, my last note for the Battle of Scarif is, I think the moment on the beach where they're just sitting there, they're watching their inevitable end come, knowing that they succeeded, they got the message out, but they're gonna die anyway. Like, I think this is one of the most powerful moments in Star Wars, and I didn't get it the first time. The first time I was like, oh, they should have kissed and been in love, or they should have escaped, and blah blah blah, but like, I got it this time, and it hit. Like, I actually teared up this watch through at this moment.
My only thing is that Krennic only took one shot, and that I think that was like my own fault, is that like, you know, like Star Wars bad guys, like we expect this like big fight to happen,
right?
And Krennic was like our bad guy, and that didn't happen, and that's fine.
He's just a human. I mean,
yeah, he is. He's just a human.
I want to be a cool Star Wars hero. I'm getting one-shotted, just being honest.
Oh yeah, 100%. Any of us, yeah. But I mean, it just kind of made me sad that like our big bad for this story like literally took one shot and that was it. And then the fact that they only used, I mean, if they would have made Krennic into like he had like some mutant power or something, like it would have been too far-fetched.
Yeah.
100%. But like the fact that they only used single reactor ignition to destroy Scarif as well. Like, that wasn't even the Death Star at full power. Again.
Yeah, but they weren't destroying the whole planet. They were just blowing up the base.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, that was just a note that I had. And then also how poetic it was that Krennic was killed by his own machine.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But I also
That's all I really have.
If they would have blown up the planet, it would have taken away from Alderaan. Like, yeah, Alderaan of course would have still been blown up, but Tarkin says, you know, it's time for a demonstration of its power, something like that. So it would have took away from that moment.
That, and you can't have it be more powerful than what we see in episode 4.
Yeah. Tech, ending of the battle, Scarf getting blown up, at least that part of it, the base. How you feeling?
It's a good ending for the story. I mean, it really is kind of like what everything's been building to. And I really like. So also, I'm a big like Western fan. I love Western movies.
Yeah.
Especially like spaghetti westerns from like the 60s, 70s. I like that kind of stuff. And that was almost like the last like duel with like Krennic was like it was almost like that. Like he walks in, boom, 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 he gets shot and he's like nursing a gut shot wound, and like the hero of the story is also nursing a gut shot wound. They both got shot. Like it's just it was kind of because honestly, like one time I've heard Star Wars compared as a space western.
Yeah.
And it almost is. And it was just kind of a like I was okay with that. I thought that like that was honestly like not too out of the style.
Yeah.
Star Wars is definitely part of a spaghetti western. I mean, some of the themes, especially like when you think of Luke staring at the twin suns, and part of Luke's theme is a total spaghetti western.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also I think and the other thing is like just the time. I mean, it was 1977 when that first movie came out. That was also the height of the spaghetti western. So I mean, obviously those movies like George Lucas took some things off of westerns. I mean, that's very much like part of the deal. But that's kind of what I thought about the Krennic scene, was that like it just reminded me a lot of an old western.
Yeah,
I thought it was kind of cool.
for sure.
And then they sent the plans, which for me is the whole point of the movie.
Right.
That's honestly where like the movie could have ended right there, and I would have been okay with it.
Yeah.
Because they sent the plans, it's over with. And then also like I honestly like as far as the romance in that scene, I think that's a little bit unneeded.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I totally agree.
Do they really need to kiss? That just kind of like seemed a little bit like taking liberties to me.
Yeah, no.
Honestly, like the whole rest of the movie, I don't know. I call me crazy, but I couldn't really see that much of a relationship between them.
Yeah.
And then like the kiss was kind of forced.
No, I totally agree. Like I said, my first watch through, that's what I was
Did they
expecting.
kiss?
But no, they didn't. Yeah. They just hugged. But like
that's what I thought. I was like, I don't think they kissed.
No, they just hold each other until they get blown up. I think it's
which I thought was great.
Yeah,
I thought that was great.
Yeah, I didn't, like I said, I didn't really get it the first time. I was like, oh, they should have kissed. But like I got it this time, that the romance just was not needed.
Yeah, I mean, basically, even still, like their hug even was still romantic.
Yeah,
I mean, would y'all not agree with that? Like that's still.
I don't think it was romantic. I think it was Jin finally understood everything that Cassian had been fighting for his entire life, and he finally knew that she understood him.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if either of us, any combination of the two of us were on a beach about to get blown up, I'd probably hold you guys. I would. No romance.
No, I'd hold you too, but like it just seemed a little bit like, and maybe it's because the giant blast in the background looks like a sunset on a beach.
That is true.
Like maybe just to me it looked a little romantic, and like I just thought that like that was a little bit unnecessary.
Yeah, no, I get that.
But anyways, I mean, I think like you could have accomplished the same exact thing with like cutting to the base being blown up and us never seeing them hugging. Like it would have never like, I don't think it would have taken anything away. And so like to me, it just kind of seems a little bit overzealous. But anyways, like, or I'm sorry, it seems a little bit like just taking liberties. You know what I mean. But But anyways, like I like the way that the movie turned out, and really, I mean, that's kind of all I have as far as that last scene there.
Yeah. Okay, I think really all we have left is Vader's hallway moment,
Yeah.
which, I mean, is one of the greatest Vader moments of all time.
And I think it's a very easy thing to review because honestly, it's so good. It's so what Vader should have always been. Like, I understand, like, in the first couple of movies.
Yes, I'm so glad Tuck said it because I'm here to defend it, baby.
There are CGI, like, boundaries that in the 70s and 80s we couldn't do.
Right.
And, like, I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. And, like, I like the way that the original movies are. But this, to me, growing up in a computer-generated world, like growing up in a world with the internet, world with, like, prequel movies and all that stuff, this just really hit Vader home to me. This really made him, like, a scary, menacing, top-tier bad guy. And honestly, because of this one scene, like, if you never see anything else, because of this one scene, Vader is one of the best bad guys in cinema history, and I'm not exaggerating.
No, I completely agree.
I'm not arguing with that. I'm arguing with the fact that so many people had problems with Vader being as cool as he was in this scene. Watch the fight between Luke and Vader on Bespin again.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
He does the same moves. He uses the same force strength. It's not any different. The only fact is that we had better technology when Rogue One came out.
Yeah. Also, it's, I think, a big point to remember, it's who he's fighting. Luke knows, I mean, Luke is becoming a Jedi at this point. He knows how to use a lightsaber. Like, he's putting up an actual fight. These rebel soldiers are just not strong enough to actually fight Vader. They are sheep getting slaughtered to him.
And you even see that with, like, Anakin versus, like, anyone in, like, the Clone Wars series. I mean, like, who besides, like, Count Dooku and Obi-Wan, and then also, like, Mace Windu in training, have ever really been a fight for Anakin?
Right.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Aside from Luke and Ahsoka. Those were real fights. But other than that, I mean, he's completely crushed every opponent.
Yeah.
And this was a great illustration of that.
For sure. Cool. I think my last thing, which we've already really talked about, so I don't think we need to go in depth with it, was my last note was CGI Leia. Seeing her again. I was totally okay with it. I was happy to see Leia, even if it was just for a moment.
I was too. Just some very small things.
Yeah.
And again, they're story-wise small. They don't matter. But, like, that's where, like, you know, Mac has Tarkin. Like, for me, like, Leia looked a little goofy. Like, she didn't look properly like herself. But also, again, it's CGI. It was a long time ago, like, compared to, like, whenever we are broadcasting this versus, like, when the movie came out.
Right.
And you know, it's okay. But, like, that's my one, like, critique is that she doesn't look quite like young Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
But that's also, like, that's just the way it is.
No, I get it. Also, I don't know if you guys have seen, talking about Leia, have you guys watched Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen several seasons. I haven't seen all of it, but
cool.
I've seen.
Well,
yeah.
No spoilers, but there are rumors going around that Millie Bobby Brown, the person who plays Elle, that they're trying to cast her in a Star Wars film or Star Wars TV series, some future Star Wars project, and a lot of people are calling for her to be Leia.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
I could see it.
Yeah, right?
As long as she can. My thing is, as long as she can get Leia's voice correctly.
Yeah.
Like, as long as she can get the her accent correct. That would be my deal.
No, I definitely think she could go, like, watch an episode, you know, whenever you start watching the newest season, and then go watch some interviews of her, and, like, who she is versus who Elle is just so drastically different. You know, like, some characters or some actors play characters that are like who they are, and so there's not really a difference between the two, but Millie Bobby Brown and Elle are just completely different people, and so I feel pretty confident that she could do a good.
No,
Leia.
she could definitely do like a adolescent Leia would be so good.
Yeah.
Like she could play a Leia in between Kenobi and like a Rebels Leia.
Yeah.
She could do a Rebels Leia like really well.
And also,
go ahead.
oh,
Doug.
I was thinking, like, for instance, like maybe not season 2, but like if we got like a season 3 of Kenobi,
Yeah.
it'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Because
And
she'd be like, between 13 and 16, and that would be like, I think, really cool.
yeah, and I think Millie Bobby Brown is like 18 or 19 now, so she's right at Leia's age in episode 4. So I mean, give it a few years and maybe we could see a project between episode 4 and 5 or 5 and 6, you know? I think there's a lot of possibilities there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because that's the other thing is like, a lot of people feel like people don't understand how much time is in between each movie.
Right.
Like each Star Wars movie is just a snapshot
Yeah.
of a specific time. And I think that like you could really do a lot with the time in between the movies.
For sure.
In any sense, you could do that.
Well, boys, that's all I have for Rogue One. You guys got any last notes?
I think that's it for me.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean,
Cool.
for me, just to sum up, like, it's got some issues, but it is still, I think, a good Star Wars movie.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree.
Yep.
So what's next? And it may not be the next episode that we put out because we have a couple episodes recorded and I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to air everything. But really what's big to look out for is we're going to be doing an official ranking of all of the live action films. So 1 through 9 and then Solo and Rogue One. And we'll just be talking about our, like, which is our least favorite to most absolute favorite film. And then if you guys have any questions, you can email us at animalsquadron@gmail.com. Again, that is animalsquadron@gmail.com. We would love for you guys to be a part of this conversation. For the Animal Squadron, this has been Mother Goose.
And Lowtech Tuck.
Lowtech Tuck, my boy.
End it. Just end it. Good Lord, be done with Rogue One. Thank God we're done. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.